Rumors about President Donald Trump's potential attendance at the Daytona 500 have stirred up conversation in the motorsport world, particularly after the Super Bowl. With NASCAR's biggest race drawing immense attention from fans and media alike, Trump's presence would undoubtedly add a layer of spectacle to the event. However, NASCAR driver Bubba Wallace, whose relationship with Trump has been marked by controversy, made it clear that he wasn't particularly invested in the president's possible attendance. Trump's potential appearance at such a high-profile race, following the buzz after the Super Bowl, has sparked speculation, particularly given his history with the sport and Wallace. However, Wallace's comments underscore a broader sentiment among many in the NASCAR community. While Trump's presence may attract media coverage, the event is, at its core, about racing. The Daytona 500 will continue to capture the imagination of motorsport fans, regardless of political figures in attendance. But the lingering tension between Wallace and Trump is a reminder of the complex intersections between politics and sports. For now, Wallace seems more focused on his role as a father and team member than on the drama surrounding potential political spectacles. Donald Trump and Bubba Wallace have a complicated history, largely stemming from a controversy in 2020 that ignited political and cultural debates within the sport. Wallace, the only black full-time driver in NASCAR's top series, played a pivotal role in pushing for the removal of Confederate flags from NASCAR events after the murder of George Floyd and the rise of social justice movements. The tension between Trump and Wallace escalated after a noose-like rope was discovered in Wallace's garage stall at Talladega Superspeedway in June 2020. The discovery led to an FBI investigation, which concluded that the rope had been in the garage since the previous season and was not a targeted hate crime against Wallace. Despite this, Trump took to social media to call the incident a hoax and demanded that Wallace apologize to NASCAR and its fans, implying that the sport had been misled. Wallace responded with a statement emphasizing unity and resilience, choosing not to engage in a prolonged war of words with the president. The clash highlighted NASCAR's changing landscape, with Wallace advocating for greater inclusivity in a sport historically associated with Southern conservative culture. His activism led to backlash from some fans, but also garnered significant support from fellow drivers and NASCAR leadership. In the years following the controversy, Wallace has distanced himself from political discussions. Ahead of the 2024 season, he stated that he no longer wished to engage in social media debates, instead focusing on his racing career and family. When asked about Trump's rumored attendance at the 2024 Daytona 500, Wallace dismissed it, saying he couldn't care less, and emphasizing that he was there to race, not for a political spectacle. Despite their history, it appears Wallace is determined to move forward, focusing on his career rather than revisiting past conflicts. However, with Trump continuing to have a strong presence in NASCAR's political discussions, their history remains a notable chapter in the sport's ongoing evolution. Rumors of Donald Trump attending the 2024 Daytona 500 have stirred speculation, not just about the president's presence at NASCAR's biggest event, but also about how it might reignite tensions with Bubba Wallace. The two have a well-documented history dating back to 2020, when Trump criticized Wallace over the garage noose incident and called it a hoax, prompting backlash from Wallace and the NASCAR community. While Wallace has since distanced himself from political debates, Trump's return to the NASCAR spotlight could force the driver into an uncomfortable position, one where silence might not be an option. Wallace has made it clear that he has little interest in discussing Trump, recently stating at Daytona 500 Media Day that he couldn't care less about the president's potential attendance. However, NASCAR's deeply rooted ties to conservative politics and Trump's previous support from a significant portion of its fan base mean that his presence wouldn't go unnoticed. If Trump uses the Daytona 500 as a political stage, whether through public remarks, social media posts, or an attempt to engage with Wallace directly, it could provoke a response from the driver. Wallace, known for his outspokenness in 2020, has since shifted focus to his racing career and personal life, particularly with the recent birth of his child. But if confronted with questions about Trump's appearance, or if the president makes a direct reference to him, Wallace could be drawn back into a high-profile confrontation. Given their history, a scenario where Trump reignites the feud, whether by addressing Wallace directly or making another inflammatory remark, could put Wallace in a difficult position. Would Wallace respond, or would he take the high road and ignore any provocation? In 2020, he was willing to speak out, but his more recent comments suggest he may avoid engaging in another public dispute. However, if Trump makes NASCAR part of his campaign rhetoric or takes a swipe at Wallace, it could force the driver into the spotlight once again, whether he wants to be or not. With the Daytona 500 set to be one of the biggest spectacles in motorsports, Trump's potential presence adds an unpredictable political layer to the race, one that could push Wallace into addressing their past conflict, whether through direct confrontation or renewed debate within the NASCAR community. As rumors swirl about Donald Trump potentially attending the 2024 Daytona 500, many are wondering if Bubba Wallace will have any reaction to the president's presence. Given their contentious history, stemming from Trump's 2020 comments calling the Talladega Noose incident a hoax, some speculate that the two could once again be at odds. However, based on Wallace's recent statements, it seems more likely that he will completely ignore Trump and focus on what truly matters to him: racing. Wallace has been vocal about his disinterest in engaging with negativity, particularly on social media. In a recent interview, he expressed his frustration with online discourse, stating, "Social media nowadays is just a way for people to hide behind a screen and voice their opinions on things they don't really know about. It's just too much negativity that it's going to take years and years and years to get rid of, and we don't have time for that." These comments suggest that Wallace has no interest in rehashing old feuds or allowing outside distractions, political or otherwise, to affect his focus. With the birth of his child and his growing responsibilities as a driver for 23XI Racing, Wallace has made it clear that he is prioritizing his career and personal life over unnecessary drama. He reaffirmed this stance at Daytona 500 Media Day when asked about Trump's potential attendance, bluntly responding, "We're here to race, not for the show." This direct dismissal signals that Wallace has no plans to engage in any political spectacle that may come with Trump's appearance. Rather than feeding into speculation or allowing himself to be pulled back into the political arena, Wallace seems poised to do exactly what he's been saying: stay focused on his team, his performance, and the Daytona 500 itself. If Trump does attend and makes any references to Wallace or their past dispute, it's likely that Wallace will simply brush it off, refusing to give the moment any more attention than it deserves. In a sport where politics and racing often intertwine, Wallace's decision to ignore the noise and concentrate on his job could speak louder than any response he might give. What are your thoughts on the feud between Trump and Bubba Wallace? Do you think it will reignite if the president makes an appearance at the Daytona 500? Post your thoughts in the comments section below.